Hello, my name is Jyoti, and this is the Hidden Sun podcast, a space for women to share and to celebrate the creative process of their work and of their lives. This week I am speaking to Esther Rushton, who is a beautiful illustrator, founder of Wild Self Co, and a shamanic practitioner. Thank you so much for listening. Esther and I met just over a year ago, I think, was it? Yeah. When you sent me an email to ask if I could take photos for you, for your business, Wild Self Co. And having then spent a few days of you in the woods and in fields and by the sea, I feel that I've kind of had a bit of a glimpse into your nature and your way, and also your offerings. And so I know that Esther has gifts, and and so it's a real pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for being the first guest. And I would love to give you the space to share in your own words, in your way, something of maybe what you do feels too boxy, but what you do, what you bring to the world through your gifts. And if I may ask, I would love to hear you share some of what brought you there and your journey to where you are now and what you have to share and your special magic.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. That's very lovely. And thank you for having me. I mean, it feels quite a big question, I think, to sort of, house it in something. I suppose it helps to put my work into context. My love of nature, and obviously nature is just it's everything about my work, and how we live in nature and how we connect with nature. That's everything, and that's always been in me from when I was young. I lived in the Lake District, and that's where I was brought up, and our house backed onto fields and mountains, and every day that was me outside in the field, playing in the trees, in the stream, and it was in me, and as I got older, we moved away from the nature, and, you go into the town, and, as you get older, you start to lose that childlike wonder of nature a little bit. Mm. And, I moved to London and, started to get in a bit of the, the corporate line, and, it was exciting work, being a graphic designer, being in that way. And, I was still using my creative talents, but I definitely lost my way in terms of my connection to nature, because, you're just in the thick, you're in the urban vibe, and it's very different, very, very different. And it sort of started to feel a little bit like nature was a little bit silly sometimes, maybe a bit childlike, and maybe that I was supposed to put that away. And then it was about 7 years ago, my marriage broke down, and my whole world just flipped. Everything that I thought was my life and what I'd had in this very little tiny box just like went, just exploded, and then just crashed to the ground. And I think when that happened to me, it was like an amazing fresh start, but also very traumatic at the same time. And I had to work through an awful lot to get to a place where I came out the other side. Mm. And very much part of that was realizing that my connection to nature was so deep. It's like it just runs through me, and getting back to that place of nature and connecting to nature again. I was outdoors all the time. In the first year, I would sit outside. I got into meditation, so I'd never done meditation before. started meditating every day. I would go outside in the morning, like just, when the sun would be coming up, and I would sit, just like people walking their dogs, and I'd just be sitting there just like, doing it just helped me so much. It just, it was one of the best things, I started doing, for healing. And I know this sort of, I have to put it in context, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gone through what I went through.
Yeah.
It was so massive, because I thought I was living one type of life, but it was so narrow and so shielded and so conditioned that I could never have opened up to what I have now, unless, you go through those things. So, there was more healing to do. And just before lockdown, so like September 2019, I just had this epiphany one day, and I was like, do you know what? I just don't think I can be a graphic designer anymore. And it was like, I almost like overnight just stopped doing it. It wasn't like I was stopping that side for myself. It was always available to me, but I just said, I just don't think I can do that client thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I need to be that artist. I need that creativity, because that had started bubbling up again, that real like self creativity, like coming from, inside, and what needed to bubble up, and all this stuff that I'd kept, all suppressed and all hidden. It was suddenly like coming out. And graphic design's great, but again, it's very narrow. It's very like, you're in this box, you've got a very brief, you're putting your head in somebody else's project, you really, you have to do it for them. You're not doing it for yourself. It's a service to that. A service, absolutely, a service. And and I think because I've been through this whole journey of, self-insight, some revelation and reflection, then the wild women that I draw now, they were me. Initially, they were me coming out. They were the inside that I hadn't realised was there. And I think that's the sort of the magic that started coming out. And I drew just this sketch one night of my first one, which was a woman in the river, wild woman of the river. And I was like, what is this? And I just sat down, and I had no idea what I was going to draw. And she just appeared. Just like this wild, like sketch with felt, just like markers. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And then I had a little bit more of a sketch. And then all of a sudden, that was it. They just started appearing, but each one was me sort of coming to terms with something else about myself. So I did a Wild Woman of the Mountain, and that was very much, grounded in the Lake District, my love of the mountains, and, those just huge expanses, but also feeling so deeply safe and stable. So that was sort of me working through, and I started to get a bit braver. The Wild Woman of the Sun came out, and she was like fiery, and, as I started working with all these things, I just realised that other women must feel the way I do. And then it was, this real feeling of wanting to share what I'd gone through, and also be a bit of maybe a beacon for other women who might feel that they want to tread this path, understand where they might be being ruled by something that isn't them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know, yeah.
Whether it's family, whether it's society, however we've been knocked into line.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to be. So I suppose that, that's where it began, and, it's just grown from there. And, I always, when I think about my work, that it's just never ending, because nature is just infinite.
Yeah.
And, I can look into anything, and there's always a connection, and there's always inspiration, because it's just amazing. And I never lose that awe of nature. even when I'm walking my dog in the morning, I'm like looking up at the trees, the sun, the sky, and it's like, this is it. This is amazing. So, yeah. So I don't know if that was sort of explains enough about where the journey. I'm sort of thinking because I know where I am now, but there's obviously some gaps in there. But do you feel that's sort of a good start?
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and I guess when I was photographing you, you get glimpses, and it's not particularly the place to ask you these like questions, but I had no idea, and so it's really beautiful to receive. Like I do appreciate there's something of like almost like a retelling of something that's like alters your foundation. You can't really distill that, or kind of, it's like I appreciate the like bigness of that question, and then being like, oh, how do I explain my life? And also in listening, there's like so much in what you said that sparked things for me. And there's so much richness and so much depth in, in your illustration, and it's so of you. And I do, I really feel, and I know that anything that you create that's like of you, and it's really from the depths of you, and that you've kind of pulled it through and made it this thing, it can't help but speak to people. Okay. And so I find it, just really, it's an honor to hear you speak of your illustration and to hear of your journey to where you are now. And there's something, I guess I can only speak in some way from like, my interactions with you and the time that I'd spent with you in kind of getting to know you, and also being of service to you through my photography and just witnessing you with a camera. And when after we'd done our, like, I think we did like 2 location shoots, didn't we, in nature? Yeah. And, in all my interactions with you, there was something that really struck me, which I know will only have come from your kind of like walking through the fire and having these kind of, I just call them, I guess, like the initiations that we all have, which are so deeply personal and also really archetypal, and which is why, when we share that and we're able to like offer something out from that, it speaks not just like through our soul and through our being, it speaks to others as well. And there's something very primitive and primal about that in the way that, women create and put things out. Kind of feel like I'm like spiraling. I'm trying to think where I was. There's something of the way that you are and in your nature, which is, I feel like I need to close my eyes to like put language to it. Your feet are so on the ground. Like I feel like you have your feet so firmly planted on the ground, and your like being and your energy. And I really feel like it really translates through all that you do. That's been really lovely for me to witness, and I feel like it also carries through your illustration, and also it also really I feel like you also it makes sense to me that you have your feet so firmly on the ground from your experience of growing up in nature and just being, especially as we are when we're children, we're not separate from it. And then there's that like splitting out, and we become something else, and we see all the lenses of our kind of what we could be and what people expect, and we find ourselves disconnected. But I also really feel like as much as you have your feet on the ground, you also hold this space for, how do I describe it? Well, when we were photographing, and when I was photographing you, you had like a conversation with the trees, and the energy went kind of up and like out into the field, I don't mean like the literal field, I mean like the energetic field.
Yeah.
And it's like you would need your feet firmly on the ground to hold that in the beautiful way that you do as part of your shamanic, what do I call it, work?
Shamanic practice.
Your shamanic practice. And again, I feel like that really filters through into all of your offerings, or all that I've seen and have experienced of you, and also the wildness within that. You know, there's something about holding all of that together and then letting it speak through your art and letting it speak through what you do and how you go about things. I don't. There was something I wanted to kind of ask about that, and in like spiraling through that, I haven't actually like landed on the thing that I wanted to ask you. But I don't know if there's any of that kind of like, sparks anything. Sparks anything for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, I think it's lovely to sort of hear those insights, and you know, when you say that, so we often don't think about ourselves in that way, do we? But I know that, yes, I am very grounded. I'm very in my body.
Yeah, you're so in your body.
Yeah.
It's like, it really, it's just exquisite. And I feel like even when you would send me emails, I'm like, oh, Esther's emails. You're like, it was like just so lovely to receive. And it's just it's of you, and it's such a gift, you know. And when what am I trying to say? It's like our ability to be fully present in our aliveness and fully landed in our bodies is like, it's in its own kind of quiet. It's not necessarily quiet, but I feel like that kind of grounded, you know, way of just being in your body is, it's very disruptive to our kind of agreed norms and our conditioning, you know, and it's also desperately needed in the world, and it can feel hard, and especially the way the world looks at the moment, and it looks to be, you know, I don't even have language for it, but it's like, you know, it the journey that you've been on, and how through that you've reconnected with your, I guess that like childlike way of just being, you know, in the way that like before we get kind of knocked out of it, just being so in your body and so present in your aliveness and full of wonder, and just really being there for life and letting life move through you. You know, the way that when you're a kid, you just don't even think about it, you're just there. So true. Is something that is just so vital and potent, and so I just wanted to speak to that, because I just feel like I really feel that in you, and it's really just, it's just beautiful to be around, and it's really needed in the world, you know, because how else do we bring forward more of what we want to see, you know? And it, like I say, it can feel really disruptive to our own conditioning as well. Like I kind of have like the experience of feeling like it's sometimes really hard to meet yourself there, because we have all of these layers of like lifetimes of conditioning about how we should behave and how we should be. And so to kind of witness like somebody's being, presenting them, not presenting, like just being, just really being there, really being present is really affirming. And it's, I keep saying it's beautiful to see and be around, but it is. So I just want to say it again. And it's like, there was something I wanted to say about that. Yeah, it's just, it's disruptive and it's needed. And I would love to know how you I think I have a sense of maybe where, but like I would love to know how you arrived at naming this kind of part of your business wild self, and how that kind of feels for you to put that out there in the world, because I understand it's like of you.
Yeah.
And it's like when I look at your work, I'm like, why would it not be called wild self? But I would just love to know like how you arrived there.
Yeah, well, when I started creating the Wild Women, I call them the Wild Women, I was very much at the start of my shamanic journey as well. And the women felt very wild because they were part of the wild. They were part of nature, and nature is untamed. It's, you know, it's undomesticated. It does what it wants to do. It, you know, it's just perfect as, you know, the way it is.
Yeah.
And as I've done a lot of, you know, the shamanic practices, but a lot of the shamanic work is work on ourselves, you know, how we present to the world, how we, you know, deal with everyday life, but how we, you know, so we don't live in our heads, basically.
Yeah.
So a lot of that work is, you know, it's working through all our traumas. You know, we do these practices to just be clear, be bright, and, you know, that loving the physical act of being alive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the wild self, I feel, it's this place inside. You know, you're not in your head. You're like deeply in your body, and you're not affected by what's going on down the road. You're not affected by what somebody said to you. You're not affected by, you know, all these things that people have told you what to be. You're untamed, you're undomesticated. You're not, none of that matters when you're, you know, your wild self, and you're connected.
Yeah.
And that for me is that's it. That's where we're wild, you know, and I like to be in that place. But also what I've realised is that is, you know, you mentioned it being affronting a little bit. Sometimes people find it quite like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I sort of, sometimes I'm like, yes, this, you know, you've really put yourself out there, you know, wild self. And some people are like, I don't want to find my wild self. I don't want to know what that's like, because that actually feels quite scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's big, right? Like when you use the word, when you speak like undomesticated, it's like, poof. It has a like a quality to it. It's like it's evocative, and it is loaded, right? Yeah. It's a loaded kind of big, expansive, quite confronting word, I think. What is it to be undomesticated? And what is it to be wild? Like, I don't really, I don't have language for it, but like, I can hear, or I can see in my head, like in my mind's eye, if I'd said to my nan, like, what is it, you know, like if I'd spoken about what it is to be like a wild woman, or even just put that language out, I can't even really explain it, but I think she would probably be like, well, what's that? You know, what it would be like nonsense. It would seem like this kind of like nonsensical, it's like a concept, I guess, which anything is until you embody it, right? It lives in the mind until it comes all the way down and through your aliveness. But it's like, there's a lot, you know, there's a lot there. So I feel like it's exquisite that you've like put, as much as we can like name, I mean, language falls short, doesn't it? It's like, it's almost like, I find language exquisite, and also like sometimes it just feels like also like just like what even is it? What are we even trying to do, putting words to things? But I just really feel like it speaks through what you do so beautifully.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do, when I'm creating the pieces, whether it's illustration or painting or however I choose to do it, you know, it just comes through. You know, I get muses through that, because I do a lot of life drawing, and the women so they just speak. You know, you can almost tell what they are. You know, they're just beautiful. You know, the shapes and the forms and just the femininity, the curves. And, you know, I just go in, and as soon as I start drawing, then whatever they're going to become, they become.
Yeah.
You know, and then when the art itself is put out there, it has to change in a way.
Yeah.
The intention is still there. But when you put it out there, reactions to it are so different.
Yeah.
You know, people either like, oh my God, yeah, I really get this.
Yeah.
You know, and often I find older women are like, oh, I know that. You know, I'm already there. I'm a wild woman. And they're like women in like 65, 70. And they sort of gone through that and they've come out the other side.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every, but quite a few women have come up to me, and I find that I love it. I absolutely love it. And then sometimes I have women who just, it's almost like they can't look at it. And there's like two polar opposites. And then, you know, there's just some, you know, in the middle, and often there's younger women who are like, oh, I love it. And, you know, they really want to get into it now.
Yeah.
You know, I've done like the little zines and, you know, a lot going a bit deeper into how we're conditioned by society as women, and, you know, being wild is seen as, you know, not right. It's all a bit like, oh, you don't want to be wild because people are going to point the finger at you, or, you know, society are going to suppress you, or all those sort of things. But I do think it's, you know, it's good to put it out there. It's wild to put it out there, you know, just see what happens. And I really do want to help other women on the path.
Yeah.
Because feeling that aliveness and feeling the wildness is the best feeling. It really is. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I paint. That's why I put the workshops out. That's why I have all these, you know, little things going on, because I want to go, yeah, come on, let's do it. You know, I could talk about it all the time. And, you know, that's why I do what I do, because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be on the other side.
Yeah.
Very much so. It's not like I don't understand that. But on the other side, just letting it all go, and whatever comes, that's freedom.
Yeah. Oh, it's there's another really needed thing in the world is to be able to create from your heart and to offer that out without buffering it with like, oh, this is my thing that I do, and needing it to speak to everybody, or needing it to be perceived a certain way, is so inextricably tied to that, you know, being as we are, all of us, every person, that is like, it's, you know, it's powerful. When we're able to share in truth, I guess, that, you know, like from your aliveness, from that place, from that really potent place that is I mean, how do you, again, it's like words fall short, but like I feel like it's such a gift when you can model that in the world and share it, and have people like witness some part of that and respond to it in a way that's like, I mean, you kind of, I think when you put art out into the world, or any of your gifts, or, you know, when we have things to share, it's like you kind of have to relinquish how it will be perceived, right? To be able to like truly put it out there, it's kind of like, well, are you even making it for other people? Sometimes, you know, I make jewellery. I think, am I even, like, obviously to run a business, things need to move, and I hope that those pieces are rehomed and that it speaks to people, but it also is so deeply personal that it's like, this is just for me. It's like, this is just like, it just needs to come through and be a thing in some kind of tangible way. But like, God, like sometimes I feel, can I even say that? It doesn't even matter if no one likes it. But obviously, like, you know, it's also it's tied to income. So it's like, well, I hope someone likes it. But it's like, but it also is just there to exist. Like, it's just there to be there in recognition of my aliveness. And in a way, that's all it needs to be. But then also, I'm sure you would love for people to connect to your art so fully that they feel like they need to have it. And that's also like a beautiful thing to offer out. And I can imagine it must be like really exquisite to see. Like, I don't often witness people like kind of seeing, unless I have my jewelry at a pop-up or something, or like maybe with photography a bit more. But like, I don't often get to see people's like heart responses to things, like unless someone will tell me, or I happen to be there if somebody opens something that I've made. Like, that's like, it's a really beautiful thing to receive. And I guess for you to have like, especially those like, you know, the generations of women, and you know, we're so devoid of like rites of passage and kind of holding through initiations that like in some way, to know that something has like landed with somebody and it speaks to a part of their journey is like part of that. And I feel like art does that in this very precious way. And I guess particularly if you're painting or expressing like the kind of, you know, it's like if you see the silhouette of like a female form, or like, you know, something that has the essence of like the feminine, then like women will look at that and place themselves in that. Yeah. Which is like really, it's just wonderful. Like, yeah, I remember doing like, I stopped doing life drawing, I think at uni was the last time I did life drawing, but I used to like, I just used to go like all in, and I loved it so much. And it's also quite kind of like confronting to even try and put line to paper, was my experience. But like to offer that out now in your illustrations is like, oh, I just love the way that you like, I just love your work. So, and I can really like feel that. And I love how you've expressed that through your kind of like, you know, this is like woman, as you say, and it has been you of like, this is of the land, this woman is of nature, in nature, not separate from, is something that everyone will have a different relationship to, and that will change over time. So I guess you will only kind of like not hit people, but like you will only hit the part of like the person's journey in that particular moment. So somebody could have your work and their relationship to it will change over time. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. I think there's a readiness for it. Yeah. The people that come to it and find it are ready to possibly, you know, look at that. I mean, the thing is, like you say, you can't control how, once you put something out there, you put it out there. Yeah. And you have no control over how people, how people, you know, relate to it. But I do think that the women who find it are ready, or, you know, they need that as part of their journey, you know, or it's speaking to something that they're going through. Often, you know, women have bought a piece and they're like, oh, I just really need this now. This is just really helping me. You know, they're working through something. And I find that, you know, it's just really heartening. I love it. Yeah. You know, and then somebody really, you know, say if I'm doing a pop-up, or, you know, and somebody just really goes, oh, you know, that's it. I love that. And it's just speaking to them, but it's not speaking to there. It's like coming from here. It's like a part of them connecting to it. And I think that's really special. And that's, you know, that's what I'd like to happen. Obviously I don't have any control, but if it awakens something, you know, a spark. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's what I'd, you know, like to do with my workshops, to start lighting that little fire, you know, really making those connections and the insights and reflections, so that, you know, women can start to have those not rumination, but just that quiet time to really contemplate stuff. Yeah. And, you know, art can be that. It can be a portal, a window. Oh, it is. I feel like it absolutely is like, I feel like it pulls us through time. You know, it takes us out of our, as you say, like it doesn't, it's not landing on an intellectual, like, you know, oh, I think I like this. Although you might think you like something, but like there's a pull, right, which is a direct kind of heart line. And we feel that as a, like, I, you know, like if I connect to something, I feel it in my body. If it's really doing its thing, it's like, it's not like a concept of whether I might like that thing or not. It's like, it just speaks.
Yeah.
Which I feel speaks back through time and out of kind of the linear time and into, well, I call it magic time, deep time, spiral time.
Yeah.
You know, and out of, takes us out of our, you know, all the things we've got to do on our to-do lists and into our being, and it speaks. And so this is, yeah, I mean, this is why I was so keen to have you on. It's because I wanted to know about all these special magic things that you do. And I would love to know a little bit more about your kind of containers and how you weave your shamanic work and your creative work, and what they've looked like for you. Because I know that you did, I think you had like an outdoor event, and I know that you're looking to offer like an indoor, as you've just spoken to, container. So I would love to know more about what's kind of alive for you within that, and how that weaves through everything that you've...
How the shamanic work is. Well, it's interesting because my art with the wild women and, you know, being part of nature was a precursor to the shamanic work. And I'm an absolutely avid reader. I just read and read and read and read. And it was a big part of my healing, reading. And there's, I sort of have this thing, I don't know if this happens to you, but I read a book and then there's something in the book that then guides me to my next book.
Yeah.
And there's like a little thread, and it might be something there's a passage and I'm like, oh, that's really, there's something. And then all of a sudden there'll be another book that'll guide me to the next thing that I need to embody or work on.
Yeah.
And that was very much how things worked for me. And I read this book called Soulcraft, and it was all about Vision Quest. And this was after I'd started doing the Wild Women. And I was just absolutely just captivated because it seemed to just pull together everything that I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
And it was really magical, just so magical. And, you know, that you could just go into these sort of hypnotic, sort of psychedelic, sort of like trance-like places where, you know, you can have all these conversations with the spirits and, you know, connect with nature in a very, very different way. And from there, I then found the group that I train with now called Northern Drum. And yeah, I dove right in there. You know, I did a 3-year training, and a lot of the training, as I mentioned, is personal work.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do shamanic healing on people if you're not healed yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to be that hollow bone, so that you're not projecting any of your stuff onto somebody else, and nor are you triggered by anything that they say, do, or anything like that. Yeah. So a lot of the work is that, you know, you being clear and bright, and, you know, having that capacity just not to take anything on board that's not necessary. You know, you obviously help people, and there's the healing aspect of it. But yeah, just being very alive and present is the most important thing. So yeah, the two, it was like, oh wow, I've been actually making shamanic art, really. when you actually look at it, it's very, very shamanic. Yeah. And the two have just happily embraced When I started doing it, it wasn't about going out and doing healings or anything like that. I was doing it to help my world become, grounded, deal with everything that had happened, and deal with it in a very different way. And it just felt like it just felt so right that this was the path that I was on. And the more and more meetings that I went to, and, I've done 3 vision quests now, where, going out into the wild and being on my own for like 5 days, and, everything that goes with that. And it just enlivens me. I couldn't imagine being without the practices now. And what it's just been such a gradual process of, I knew I wanted to help women, with my art, but also I know how the two can be intertwined. And that's what I was, starting with the workshops, is that the two, being the wild self, what is it like to be a woman with, working without the conditioning? What is it like to be untamed? And using the shamanic practices that I've learned and I've been taught to weave that together. Because I think it just takes it to another level. It's not surface anymore. You're not just, because we all work on the surface level, and every day it's so surface.
Yeah.
And I find that very difficult to deal on a surface level so much. Yeah. So the workshops are, to like bring people into themselves, to understand themselves more, really connect to nature. What does it feel like to be like nature? What can you learn from nature? How are you like nature? And obviously, you are very embodied with shells and the sea and everything like that. And I'm sure that you probably can feel yourself, when you're feeling the textures and the tones and the, even the waves and the water, you can feel how you are that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had it kind of mirrored back to me by people who've spent time with me with that kind of part of my, I guess, that part of my business. Like, and they said, this is just, that this is you, right? Like this thing you've made and the way that you offer it, and you would put language to it and the journey that it's been on. This is like an extension of you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, of course. But it's like it is... when you pull something from the depths and it comes through life with you, I feel like you can't help but offer out what is of you, that sits below the surface, right? And we're all asked to participate, and we need to participate in the world in some surface way. We all need to, be in all of these places, but when you can bring it within our participation, you're also able to distill down something which is of the kind of the deep work, then it holds a different resonance, right? Which is, I don't know if I'm ever sure, but it's like I can kind of, it's like when you look at like an artifact or something that's been created thousands of years ago, there's a sense of this object or this thing or this artwork being part of the aliveness of the person who created it. And it's just there, it's in the thing, right? It's just in the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, how we view that now is a bigger conversation about, things in museums and it's a whole other thing to put words to, but when you're able to hold that and carry that through your work and through your art and through your containers, speaking not for you but on speaking to what you've just described about your holding spaces, that will be really valuable to women, I'm sure. And I'm really excited for you to see, because I know that you've moved to your new studio, and it's kind of part of that process for you is establishing the roots of that space and what it holds and what it can kind of carry. I'm really excited to see how it moves for you and how that what it becomes, I guess, is what I'm,
Thank
the
you.
word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think creating that space how, I want it to be is really important, and making it very welcoming.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing for me. Welcoming, warm, just somewhere where people can just relax and just be.
Yeah.
It's really important for me. So it's always evolving.
Yeah.
I'm not like trying to say this is the final thing, or with the practices, doing my shamanic work. I've started another 3-year training.
Yeah.
And I instinctively know that I'm always going to be learning. I mean, that's part of the shamanic way, is that there's always
you don't arrive, do you?
No, there's always a lesson. There's always learning to be done.
Yeah.
You get taught things every single day. However the day goes, that you've learnt something, you've taken something in.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I've just come back from a summer camp, which we did a prayer dance. We did a 3-day, 20-hour prayer dance, which was just, again, words cannot explain it, but it was magical. It was absolutely magical. So, there's just new and amazing things happening all the time.
That's so special. I feel like I need to say into this microphone, a 20-hour prayer dance. I feel like that needs like a whole, that's like, I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine.
We did have breaks.
How exquisite.
We did have breaks.
With breaks. Good.
Yeah, we did have breaks.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it was a test of, but it just felt really, devotional, magical. And I haven't experienced anything like that before. And
good, I hope not.
No. And I've only been back like 4 days.
Yeah.
So I'm very much sort of, But I've also had a huge insight that sometimes we feel like we're one place and we have to feel one way, and then we come back and we are like, oh well, you can't think about that anymore because you were there, and they're the feelings that you had there, and then you come back and you're back into real life. But I had this huge realization that when we're here, then there's no difference between the spaces. That because we're carrying something so deep within us that it doesn't matter where we are, that I can carry that prayer dance, I can carry all the love and the joy that we have in our group. It's still here. And that's been so, sort of pivotal for me coming away. And it's just really changed things for me. So, I'm just sort of like going around. I just feel like I'm floating at the moment.
Well, thank you for landing enough to be here in my living room.
Yes, it's a very nice living room.
I guess, there's so much in what you just spoke to. I mean, I guess that like the sense of, and I notice, that like when you're here being your kind of heart, but also the heart, it's like the heart within the heart. It's like when you're oriented there, which is to be in your body, right? Is to be fully landed, fully there. And when you're orienting yourself from your, how do I dare put language to it? Like for me, so much of what you speak to in some kind of way is relating to that kind of like knowing of it's like your inner authority. So when you're moving through the world from your inner authority, or when you're in a 20-hour prayer dance, or when you're in the supermarket picking out what you want to have for dinner, like when you're operating from your inner authority, you are in your wild nature, right? Because you're coming from the inside out. And that's where, to speak to something that you said earlier about, not being so porous to what other people are seeing of you in their way through their lens, and being able to kind of move from the inside out. That's I feel like that really speaks to the heart of so much of this for you and your experience, and your shamanic work, I'm sure. Like, oh my God, I just love the idea, you know, like most people, if they do like a 3-year training, it's a degree, right? It's like, it's a mind-led, like, it's not out, you know, in the elements, is it?
No,
Unless your degree happens to take
of
you
course.
into the elements.
Yeah.
If you're doing like, you know, something geographical, horticultural, but like, and that would be a huge blessing to be able, like my degree, I worked with my hands for 3 years, and I'm really grateful for that, because it was the only thing keeping me out of my head. And everything was so intellectual that I couldn't really kind of comprehend it then, but I just knew it felt magical. Like if I'm like working with clay or working with metal, like it feels magical, but I was so kind of like between the two, and I hadn't really like integrated that or let them be in service to each other. I think the kind of working with your hand and also, you know, the magic of the intellect. But there's something about devoting, like, well, it'll be now 6 years, right, of your time.
It'll be 6 years when this next bit finishes. Yeah.
To being in your aliveness, for lack of other words. But I mean, they're the words, right? So it's like, I mean, there's just so much we could talk about. It's just it's so juicy, and there's so much. And it's really like, it's a treat for me to hear you speak to all of these things. And God, there's just so much else I could like ask you, but I don't want to put you on the spot. And I feel like it just like, there's so much of this that I'm sure speaks to other people's journeys too. And I think quite rightfully just feel lost for words, which is quite nice, because otherwise I think I'll stay like trying to like get this thing out, you know. And it's like it's just really special to hear you speak.
Thank you. Yeah. It is a very sometimes I don't have words for it either, and you know, sometimes it's quite nice.
It's nice to not have the words, isn't it, all the time?
We can just sort of be, and you know, let things exist. Letting things exist, letting ourselves just exist, letting what wants to exist just exist. Is like, I say just like, it's just like some small thing, but I feel like that, you know, it's everything, isn't it? And I think there's something you said right at the beginning about being a child, in like so connected to nature, and so a part of nature, and kind of not knowing yourself as separate until you kind of move to the city. And then it's kind of, it's not here anymore, like it's somewhere else. I can't even remember the start of my sentence, but I just wanted to touch on that, I think, almost as like a kind of like full circle, because there's something of like reclaiming that I feel is really potent in your work, and also in your being, because you're so there. And when you share and when you speak to all of these things, like it's really present with you and of you. And so that's a delight. I mean, that's just a delight to be, you know, in the room with that. Thank you so much. And I feel really, I feel really honoured that you devoted your time to this today. And there's still so much more that I feel like I could say and ask. And is there anything you'd like to ask me? Not to put you on the spot, but I just have. Well, I mean, probably lots of things. I mean, to talk about the, you know, I was just saying about how we are connected. It's not that we're just connected, it's just that we are nature.
Yeah.
That we are that as well. And, you know, in our shamanic work, it's all our relations. So we're related to everything.
Yeah.
We're related to it all. And I notice a lot of, when you talk about your work and when you talk about, you know, what you find and, you know, bringing things back into use, you know, that sort of beautiful way of creating things, you know, that it's not just, I'm just creating it for the sake of it. It's creating because it needs to be, and all these things have come together and created something beautiful. I really like that nothing feels throwaway and nothing is thrown away.
Oh,
There's
my
just
God,
something
no.
really lovely about that. And I guess that's not question, but I think that's sort of why we've got that to and fro.
Yeah.
Because we understand very fundamentally that nothing's separate.
Yeah.
And, you know, it always gives me goose pimples a bit, just like feeling into the connectedness of everything. And like, you know, you're saying like magic time, and that is how it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's the truth of it. And that we're only chopping the day up into pieces because somebody's told us that we need to chop it into pieces. And, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in being in linear time that it just stresses everybody out. We forget that we're connected to nature. And, you know, I think both of us really are pulling people back. We're pulling, come on, remember who you are, remember that you're connected to nature. And, you know, people are wearing nature, you know, that you create. And I'm showing people how they're connected to nature through art or, you know, through workshops. And, you know, I think having that same goal, it's you know, it's beautiful, isn't it? That we're on that path of, you know, bringing people back to themselves in different ways.
Oh, thank you so much for expressing that, Esther. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it doesn't even feel like a path to me because it just is. Like, it's just like, it's the thing, right? It just is. And there's, I mean, this is a whole other podcast on like just the word like remembrance or remembering, like in connection to the kind of, you know, our like nature and our essence is like a whole other thing, but I'm really glad that you used that word because it speaks to so much. And I mean, all I hope to do through like anything that I create as like an art object or jewelry or paint, and also through like the lens of like witness with a camera is like is a kind of calling back, which feels very big. And I'm like, well, I hope I can say that I do that, but it's like because it's called me back, right? It's called, those things call me back. And they take me out of linear time and into the spiral time of my knowing, but not like mind knowing, like the knowing of myself. And I feel like the least I can do is share that in some kind of way and just say, it's here if you want to look at it. And maybe you will feel it will connect to you because it's in you. You know, everything that you see in that thing is also of you. Like you say, it's not separate. And I don't know where I feel like this, what I want to say, I don't know how rooted in fact it is, but I have some sense of like, I'm pretty sure in like somewhere back in maybe it was like Native American culture, you know, there wasn't like this separate word for nature, like it was this other thing. It's just like it's everything, like it's not us and nature. And then obviously we talk about nature as like going and driving to the downs or like something that it's like somewhere else but not here. So there's all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for what you expressed about like being able to be like I guess like some kind of like conduit for the magic, like for offering out something that calls us back into ourselves, rather than out into the million places that we can look and be, and you know, be out in the world. Yeah, there's just so much. I could just keep going, but it's yeah, maybe that's like the thing. And I'm just so grateful and appreciative that we got to even touch on the like, you know, endless depths of all the things you could touch on in talking about any of these things, because I feel like I could spend like an hour just looking at a shell and talking about the shell, you know. It's like, it's a shell. So it's like yeah, it's been so beautiful. And I wonder, is there anything that you would like to share of anything that's kind of coming up for you, or how can people find you, Esther, if you're not in a field somewhere on a vision quest?
Yeah, if I'm not lying in the grass looking up at the sky, you can find me wildselfco.com. That's my website. And that's got my art on there. That's got links to any workshops that I might be doing, and probably the next one's going to be in October. Maybe October time, indoors this time. And at the moment, my offering it's a monthly subscription at the moment called Embracing Wildness. And it's where I'm creating these small exclusive pieces of art that sort of really give people a way to connect every day. So a ritual, a craft, and then they can, you know, so at the moment, the one that's fresh is to make a ritual tea ceremony. And then they have a print, and there's affirmations and, you know, some journal prompts. And it's just like a really lovely way to just get those glimpses, you know, those connections to self, where you can go out, you can collect flowers, you can separate the petals, you can make the tea, you can sit, and then when you've done the ritual, you can always go back to the art. You know, you can always have that connection. So even when the flowers have gone, you know, obviously everything's temporary, but you know, you can go back, and then, you know, depending on how people feel, they might, you know, stick with it. And then they've just got this beautiful collection of prints, you know, that give them very different feelings of the seasons, you know, what's happening. And, you know, a remembrance, you know, something, put it in special places. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And that's my current offering. But I'm always going to have, you know, different pieces of art that I'm working on, or little projects. And, you know, they just appear as and when they feel right.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. What a treat.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got nothing else to say.
Yeah, I do think that if we start talking, we might end up doing like
a whole other deep dive. Yeah. I don't know what you do when you end the podcast. What do you do?
I don't know.
We've just done it.
We just sort of did it there, didn't we?
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. This podcast has been filmed and produced by Brighton Media Productions, and we're very grateful. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to listen to more, you can find us by searching the Hidden Sun Podcast over at Spotify. Thank you.